University for 19 years, originally arriving here as a professor of humanities. I retain that underlying role. I'm also an affiliate professor in the history department, but then I was able to come over into the leadership role in the Honors College. Some of the things that just to frame today before I talk a little bit about practical details, so I welcome you here virtually to Western overall and not just to the Honors College this morning. Some of the things I've really loved at Western in my time here are the undergraduate focus of this institution. We're a mid-sized university, but our focus is squarely on the undergraduate experience. So our faculty, who have national and international reputations across their fields, the focus of their work is on working with their undergraduate students. I think another way that Western really shines, something I immensely value about spending a few decades at Western, is the way that faculty across campus for all of our students also really emphasize opening up mentorship experiences and outside the classroom experiences for our undergraduates. Whether that's opportunities even from early on in their time as undergraduates for research in the arts and community engagement and internships. These are things that are really key and core priorities at Western. And we've seen lots of ways that these have tangible results. So, for example, in our category of master's granting universities, Western has been a leader for many years in placements to nationally competitive programs like, say, the Peace Corps, or to nationally competitive fellowships like the Fulbright Fellowship for our graduating undergrads. I think these are just kind of key signals of that emphasis on individual attention to the undergraduate experience right from the start of students' time here at Western. So if that is a little bit of a framing and a welcome to the institution as a whole, we're also an institution that's made up of many different connected communities, of which the Honors College is one part. And so our core focus, as you're all aware this morning, and that I'm delighted to have the opportunity to do with you, is to highlight what does that Honors College experience look like at Western. As you see here, we're in the midst of a welcome, and what we'll transition into in just a few moments is what we think of as an information session about honors. So we'll talk through some of the elements of the curriculum in honors at Western, some of the key pieces of the honors community and experience, give you the best sense that we can in this virtual visit of what does it feel like to be an honors student here at Western. And then at 10 o'clock, a little bit before 10 o'clock, what we'll do is we'll transition, kind of break out into two separate parts of this experience. So for the students only, they will then jump over to their honors sample class. We're excited about this because we get to highlight the classroom experience in lots of different fields that we teach in honors. And so students should have received a separate Zoom link. I'll say this again at the end. If there are any kind of technological glitches or pieces that we can support in getting everyone to their right Zoom room, we've got a whole team standing by ready to help with that. And then we'll ask families to stay in this same Zoom space. We'll take a quick regroup break of a few minutes, and we'll have a panel discussion with leaders from several different key units that support the student experience in the admissions process here at Western's campus. I'll hang around to moderate, and so we'll have a kind of full set of some key Western leaders, but also some current Honors College students whose students will get to meet at the end of this info session as well. But to join and be able to field any variety of questions that you might have for us. So that's the overview of where we're headed today. I'd like to briefly invite my colleague Jay Chavez to introduce herself as well, as she'll be one of the, we'll be kind of splitting this info session presentation with me this morning.
Hi, everyone. You probably received emails from me and the invitations and everything to participate on today. So I'm so excited to have you all here and be able to see your faces. My name is Jay, as Dr. Lynn mentioned, and I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions and Community for the Honors College. So I handle a lot of the admissions process. If you have any questions or would like to connect after this event, feel free to message me or email me. You have my email now, and I'm happy to do one-on-one chats if you have in-depth questions and talk more about it. Dr. Lynn will cover our comprehensive curriculum first, and then I will kind of chime in at the end and talk a little bit more about the community aspect, upcoming events, next steps, as well as other things exciting happening in honors. So very happy to see you all here. If anything happens, as Dr. Lynn mentioned, just make sure to chat either me or Hannah, and then and Kate as well is available. Our team is here to help you through this event. But yeah, back to you, Kim.
Super. Thank you, Jay. Fortunate here to be supported and have our students supported by a really wonderful, devoted staff team that you've just gotten to meet one of. But Hannah Salive and Kate Stevenson are also here this morning, as well as one of our student program support staff. So it's just a little bit of behind the scenes of who you'll see helping you out this morning, responding to questions, but also a sense of who's here every day working with our students too. So to move into the session itself, I think it's always logical to start a little bit with an overview, a second overview to what I hope to begin with about Western overall. But this is just to say, I imagine that the question that most of you have, as you're probably in a process that's a little bit of information overload. So you think about next steps for students and families think about where their students are headed next in the year ahead, is to think about, well, what are some of the core aims and goals? What's the mission of Western's Honors College? And how do we fit into this university, our institution as a whole? So I'm going to start with the left side of this slide, in fact, and then talk a little bit about the bullet points on the right side. On the left is our Honors College motto. It is, the picture there is the front of Eden's Hall, which is the part of the Honors Residence Hall community, located conveniently next to our Honors Center and Classroom space, one of the beautiful oldest buildings on Western's campus, and kind of a real kind of symbol and heart of the college here. We have a Latin motto around the edges, so it would appear sort of old, but in fact, it's a fairly new motto that was written by our current associate director, who is by training an ancient historian. Now, our motto translates as we cultivate community by striving compassionately for knowledge. And we stress that because it really is the tenor of the honors experience here at Western. That engaged community, that compassionate and kind community, that community that is very specifically centered on academic engagement and building our knowledge together. That's the center, the core of the mission and the experience that we're creating and recreating as a community of students and faculty and staff each year here in the Honors College. What are some other ways to visualize this or to think about how does Western's Honors College fit into the larger university? What are our key goals? What is the experience of being an honors student at Western like? One of the ways that I think is easiest to conceptualize this is that in Western Honors, we're capturing some of the key elements of what you might tend to associate with a smaller liberal arts college style experience, but within the significantly larger mid-sized university that's Western. So our ongoing aim is to give students a combination of some of the best of both of those worlds. So that just so you can conceptualize what does that mean in terms of scale, of size. The Honors College at Western currently has a little bit over 900 active honors students. Western overall as a university currently has a little bit less than 15,000 undergraduate students. So that's one way to think about the kind of relative scale of the Honors College population to the broader undergraduate population. We could break that down even a little bit further and think about the first year student experience. So the majority of our students who start in honors start their first quarter as first year students. And we're admitting currently cohorts of around 250 students each fall. So to begin in honors at Western is to begin in a group of 250 or so students, a very academically engaged community who have really self-selected into this experience. And then you're part of a larger starting first year cohort at Western that's usually around 3,000 students. So that's another way to conceptualize that scale. What are some ways to think about what that means? It means that students who start in honors at Western have the advantages and the opportunities of both a connected, academically engaged cohort that takes some of their classes together, is a vibrant social community in honors, is a smaller home base with a lot of faculty and staff support. And at the same time, those students have all of the opportunities available to them of a significantly larger university. So that means the approximately 200 different academic programs that are offered at Western. It means the kinds of arts or athletics or club. I think we have about 300 active student clubs or other community engagement opportunities of that much larger campus. And also just a different kind of social experience potentially, both a small home base and a much larger social network or pool potentially for that time in university. The bullet points there too, and hopefully how I've explained this to you, I think of as connecting to really just kind of leaning into those overall strengths of Western. The core of what we're doing from start to finish in honors is building that compassionate academic community. It's building and adding further to a program of interdisciplinary inquiry, of building interdisciplinary skills, and a community of students who major in everything there is across campus, right from the start of their time at Western all the way up to the end of our curriculum. And just further expanding those opportunities for faculty mentorship and for meaningful outside the classroom experiences right from a student's start. So you heard me do a fair amount of framing so far this morning. The next is to get into some of the details. What does that mean concretely? What would you be doing in your first year or your last year as an honors student at Western? So here's my wordiest slide. The expectation, at least my expectation, is not that you read it right now, not that you memorize it, not that you take notes on it, but to make a few key points. A first point is that we have a lot of information about our curriculum on the honors website at Western. So if you ever want to refer back to or dive deeper into the things that we're mentioning this morning, that's a place that you can go and check, follow up. You're also always welcome to reach out to us to help clarify or help you navigate, help point you in the right direction. That's one thing to note. Another thing to note that I think is really important is simply that there are multiple pathways, 3 clear key pathways through the honors curriculum here at Western. We really pride ourselves on our advising at Western Honors. So our core faculty and our staff all act as academic advisors. And from the summer before students start at Western, we're working with our honors students and talking them through how to fit together both the honors curriculum and the other series of things that they know they want to study or they think they might want to explore, as well as how to navigate the requirements of the university and lots of other topics frequently besides as well. So we have these multiple curricular pathways. We work in an individual way with students to help them figure out what's the best path for them. Another, I think, key takeaway here is that the honors curriculum at Western is the size of a minor. What's important to me to stress that is that the size of the minor, that having that curriculum that's the size of a minor means that just practically, this is a program that pairs workably and effectively with any course of study that a student might want to pursue at Western. So our students at Western literally do major in everything that the university has to offer, or sometimes double major, or sometimes complete multiple minors in addition to their major, and are able to fit those various courses of study together with honors in a manageable way. That at the same time, we think also is really adding to making their college educations richer and more meaningful as they go. So I said it's the size of a minor. The honors curriculum, completion of the honors curriculum at Western will also confer a minor in what we call honors interdisciplinary studies. So students who complete the curricular tracks for that will graduate with that minor. It'll appear on their final transcript. It'll be one of the credentials that they end university with. In addition to that, students who complete any of the curriculum will become eligible for graduation with university honors. The graduation with university honors additionally requires a 3.5 GPA once students hit junior status. And the logic for that as well is to give some space for experimentation, for adjustment at the start of college. Students who graduate with university honors are recognized in a variety of ways on their diploma, on the stage at graduation. And so this is kind of one of the signal distinctions that the university offers overall for students who complete the work in the Honors College. I'm going to talk about the first track, the one you see on the left of the screen, just because it's the fullest expression of the options in the honors curriculum. And if you want to think about the overview of this, basically there are two halves to the honors curriculum, this minor size curriculum, half at the start, half later in a student's career. In each half, there are two pieces, so it's a four-part curriculum. What do students start with in honors? Students who begin in the Honors College at Western take a course sequence. This is one course per quarter in their first year in honors. And so what are some of the features of these classes? These are interdisciplinary humanities courses. So they provide that kind of foundational humanities experience for students, building communication skills, taught very self-consciously with an eye to building skills for interdisciplinary inquiry so that students are bringing their own interests and starting to have these conversations across all kinds of different academic fields around a shared humanities curriculum right from their start of their time at Western. This also becomes a really powerful social experience. These courses have about 20 students each in them. And so this is one of the ways very concretely that students are building that honors student community and honors student connection with faculty right from the start of their time at Western. Another notable thing about these classes is that they're all taught by our 7 honors core faculty. So these are faculty whose teaching time is dedicated to honors. They also do advising. They also teach at the upper level so students can return to them later. And they all teach across the whole course sequence. So a student can really click well with their first quarter honors faculty member and follow them the whole year. Or they might appreciate the different kinds of perspectives and takes and classroom environments each of them create and vary between them across the year. Lots of options. You also see lots of acronyms. So what is this here for? This, as some of you may have already discerned or know, is to indicate that the lower division honors coursework also fulfills a significant amount of the general university requirements. So we've worked really hard to make sure that our honors curriculum is both meaningful, is opening horizons for academic study and connections, and also beginning that process of thinking about how is this curriculum going to support building a meaningful life in a very broad sense. Well, so we have these kind of conceptual goals. At the same time, we've worked really hard to make sure that this is very practical and very doable in the constraints of completing a degree in whatever the student's desired time might be. So our honors coursework fulfills about 2/3 of the university's general education. Here we call it GUR, or General University Requirement Curriculum. So it really layers. Students are completing honors required courses at the same time as they are also checking a variety of boxes in their general education requirements that all Western students have to complete to graduate. The second piece of that introductory coursework also works towards fulfilling those general university requirements. We call these our honors colloquia, just the name we give to this part of our curriculum. And it is, these are taught in some ways that are similar and some ways that are different to the course sequence. So the similarity is that these are, again, small classes of about 20 students. Like the course sequence and like all of the honors curriculum at Western, these are courses that are seminar style, are discussion based, are problem solving focused, and really value that kind of connected, engaged classroom style. What's different about these is that we borrow faculty from all across campus to teach these courses, and we've built them in partnership with departments all across campus. So these are honors-specific sections of about 20 honor students each, as I said, of intro courses from across campus. By next year, we'll have about 25 different options, ranging from theater to physics to psychology to linguistics, many different options for students to be fulfilling those general education requirements, exploring areas of interest to them, completing also prerequisites and introductory courses within majors or minors they might be considering or know they want to pursue, and at the same time making meaningful classroom connections to faculty in those various areas. So to give a quick example here, our colloquium in psychology is equivalent to Psychology 101, so it'll function in the same way for students who are looking to have that as a prerequisite, looking, say, to pursue the psychology major. At the same time, it also carries a social science general education requirement. So it's just an example of how those colloquia can really be doing three things simultaneously in terms of academic progress. We've also built a variety of study abroad options into our curriculum and honors. And as you might expect, or maybe have had a chance to find out more about already, we have an excellent education abroad office at Western that supports the full range of study abroad experiences that students might want to engage in. That's also a priority of honors in our advising, to work with any students who are interested in making this invaluable experience part of their university education to figure out ways that it will make sense and be feasible for them. One of the ways that we've done that is something, again, that's offered more broadly at Western, is through creating a cluster of what we call here faculty-led global learning programs. So these are basically Western classes taught by Western faculty in which there is a built-in international experience, usually of about 3 weeks, a kind of a field trip where the faculty member and students and additional supporting adults travel somewhere else in the world. We run a variety of these in the summers. Historically, we've sent groups with faculty drawing out of deep faculty research expertise, personal histories, knowledge to Ecuador and Croatia. We're always experimenting with new options. So looking at one potentially to the Dominican Republic, highlighting a combination of humanities and marine science next year in 2027. But our signature global learning program is a fall quarter Greece program. So this is a program reserved to starting first year students. A little under a tenth of our incoming first year cohort. So this last fall, it was 23 students will choose to go on this. And they're led by our associate director and core faculty member, that ancient historian who wrote our motto, who's led this program at least 6 times already, so is very well versed in it. And these students take a bundle of courses together. And then for a significant part of the month of November, they travel together to Greece, where they have been doing this depth of study in history and philosophy to that point in the quarter to prepare for. We bring our students back then. So now I'm shifting to that second half of the honors curriculum. Before, in just a minute or two, I will hand over to my colleague Jay to talk about other parts of the honors experience. But the second half of the curriculum, our students, we bring them back as juniors and seniors to complete similar to the colloquia, and working with the individual track and the kind of credits that each student has entered Western with. We bring them back to complete at least 2 and more if they like of our upper division honors seminars. So these are even a bit smaller classes. They're generally 10 to 15 students. Like the course sequence, almost all of them are held in the Honors Center classroom space that we have here at Western. And these we usually offer, as I'll show you in a second, this year's, we offer about 30 options per year. Our honors core faculty will teach at least one a year, so it's a time for students to go back maybe and work with a core faculty member who they really valued when they started at Western. And then we also invite proposals from faculty all across campus each year who maybe want to use this as a space that they can try out a new class, or perhaps it's a place where they can teach a passion project or something that doesn't fit really easily into their typical teaching responsibilities in their departments. I think these are really beloved classes by both faculty. We always get way more proposals and applications than we're able to schedule, and also for the students taking them as well. One of the other things that's special about these courses, so they're taught by faculty from all across campus, often on interdisciplinary topics. And then they're taught to this honors student audience who by this time, as juniors and seniors, have declared majors and programs all across campus. So what we end up with is classrooms where maybe there's a biochemistry and a theater and a linguistics and an environmental studies major all working together to tackle a particular subject that might be related to one of their majors or perhaps to none of their majors, but it's really this powerful way in which we're continuing to practice and build those capacities for interdisciplinary study, for conversing across different academic fields, for thinking about what that allows us to see that we might not see otherwise. That then goes back to be rewarding in each of those areas of study students are individually pursuing. All of our honors students at Western ultimately finish their time here at the university with a senior capstone project. For this, each of them will choose a faculty advisor or mentor with whom they'll work with individually on their capstone projects. These are individually advised, individually mentored projects. We support our students' abilities to dream up these projects and know how to take them to completion well and practically through just a one-credit pass-fail course that's a capstone prep course that we have students take about a year before they graduate, so we can walk them through the whole process of how to build the most meaningful capstone. These often grow out of students' majors, but they just as often also allow students a way to pursue maybe another set of interests that hasn't been their primary focus, or to fuse a variety of different interests in areas of study together, being a culminating way to pursue that goal of building interdisciplinary inquiry and skills for that. All of our capstones then end with a presentation for a general audience. So students practice that important skill of taking something in which they become an expert and then explaining it to those who are not experts in that. And it's published in some way, often on our university's our university library's open access archive. That's another piece that we work with students individually to think through. Sometimes these are more sort of traditional thesis format or scientific papers, but they also take a variety of, pardon me, many different forms. So they've been recently things like podcasts or websites or video games or one-act plays or musical compositions or portfolios of photography or painting. Sky's the limit. With that, I'm going to give you a break from my voice and my voice a little break, and I'm going to hand the floor over to my colleague Jay to talk through the next pieces.
Perfect. Before I start talking about everything that's amazing about Honors Community, I just want to quickly just give a note that at this point of the presentation, probably a lot of questions are coming up. Feel free to use the Q&A feature, which if you cannot see it, there should be a 3 little dot on the bottom of the page, and then Q&A is going to show up. And that's like how you can maybe anonymously send questions. Some of those might be answered in the chat. Some might be answered, when I say chat, via message. Some might be answered later during the Q&A portion of the panel. So I just encourage, if questions start coming up, use that feature, and we'll be able to help you get those questions answered, or feel free to write them down and save them for later when the panel starts. So now let's talk about community. So Dr. Lynn mentioned a lot about how the honors community is built within the academic context of the classroom, of just everything that our intimate kind of smaller college setting has to offer our students. But the community can also be built outside of the classroom as well. And we've created a lot of opportunities for that. One of them is housing. Housing within the honors residential community is optional. It's an additional option that students have besides all the other dormitories and residence halls at Western. We're going to have somebody from housing participating in the panel later on. So I'll touch about this, and probably a lot of questions are going to come up. And he's going to be able to answer a lot of them, especially about the housing process and how that goes. But just to give you an idea, the honors residential housing is located in 3 specific buildings, and that community is called the Ihigi community. The 3 buildings in those communities are Edens Hall, Edens North, and Higginson Hall. This opportunity that we've created to students is just to also foster that stronger sense of community outside of the classroom. So the students will be, engaging with people that they are taking classes with, or seeing around the honor center, and just being able to provide that network to students. And Edens Hall and Edens North, these 2 buildings, they are basically exclusive to honor students. So honor students, only students who have been admitted to the Honors College can select these rooms. So they're reserved for Honors College students. While Higginson Hall is a mix of non-honor students with honor students. Higginson Hall, I'm sorry about that. But Higginson Hall has a mix of non-honor students with honor students. So if you have students that are coming in, or you know people that are coming in and you want a room with them, but they're not a part of the Honors College, and you still want to be within a lot of other Honors College students living amongst them, there is an option for you to do that with Higginson Hall. Other activities that we have to build community outside of the classroom besides housing, we have some student-led activities, but then we also have some faculty-led activities. So Dr. Lynn mentioned how our core faculty, they're very passionate about our students. So sometimes they host movie nights. Some of them host TV, movie show watching every other week. So they like to hang out with our students outside of the classroom as well. But some of our student-led activities are Student Honors Board. The Student Honors Board is kind of like our event planning group for the Honors College. So they put up game nights. They're doing a Valentine's themed game night in a couple weeks. They're doing a Mario Kart tournament. They've done an art gala. They've done Halloween parties. They've also done a lot of different things like pizza and pondering. So, just hanging out, eating some pizza and talking about some aspects. So the Student Honors Board has put up a lot of events, and they continue to do that, and students can get involved in it. It's like one of our student clubs. The other one is the Honors Book Club. The Honors Book Club, as the name already says, is a book club. They meet once a week to talk about a book that they are reading throughout the whole quarter. So something that's super doable on top of everything that students are completing academically wise. And then our Student Honors Ambassadors, you're going to get to meet 2 of them shortly. These are students who love to talk about their Honors College experience and sharing about it with other students, either prospective students or other parts of our community within Western and Bellingham. So you're going to get to meet a couple of them during the panel and later in this presentation. Now, one other aspect of our community that I want to talk about is our location. So we have a physical location, which is the Honor Center. The Honor Center is located on the 3rd floor of Old Main. If you have not visited campus, I put in pictures here for you to just get a feeling of the experience. So we have 3 classrooms in this space, but it's also a hub for students to just come, relax, hang out. We have student employees working on the front desk. One of them is here today. We have some lending libraries. We have a pet wall with pictures of pets that you can briefly see here. So it's just kind of like a hub where faculty offices, staff offices will be, but students will be using this space since all our core sequences courses are currently in this space. So students will get to have kind of like a home base within Western for them to go and hang out besides their residence hall if they're living on campus. And then there's a puzzle table as well. The puzzle table, oh, sorry, Kim, I keep like continue to talk about things. But the puzzle table, I think it's a great example of our community. So we always have a puzzle out and students are adding pieces to it and they don't know who else is adding to it. And in the end, you have like a beautiful puzzle completed. And it just shows a little bit about how knowledge is created and how our students interact with one another. You know, sometimes you don't know who is putting the piece in that puzzle, but then you have a result to something in the end. Okay. If all of this seems interesting to you, I'm going to talk about the application process. You all have been admitted to Western, so congratulations. If you have applied to the Honors College, great. We will talk about steps related to that as well. But I'm just going to cover briefly the application itself for the Honors College. If you have not completed the application, there's still lots of time. That's why we do this event right now in January, to give you time to still apply to the Honors College if you're interested in. So the application, the first step for incoming students like yourself is to apply to Western. So applying to Western, completing that application either to the Common App or to the Western website. And then the second step is going to the Honors College website and clicking on applying to the Honors College and completing a supplemental application. So the most important thing for you to take away from this slide is there is a supplemental application you need to complete in order to apply to the Honors College. I know there's some admissions, like things like admissions with distinction. That does not mean admissions to the Honors College. There's an admissions from distinction from the Office of Admissions, but the Honors College application, there is a separate application you need to complete. Okay, what does the application look like? So we have two required Honors College application materials. The first one is a personal essay. The personal essay is something new you're going to be creating to us and specific to the Honors College prompts that we have on our website and also on the application. We ask students to submit two short answers for the prompts. So we have two prompts. Answer both of them, please. So about 300 words for each prompt, or you can opt to answer both prompts at the same time in a 600-word essay. In those prompts, we are trying to gauge your interest in this community. So you're self-selecting yourself to be a part of this community, this interdisciplinary, more intimate, interactive community. So why would you be interested in that? How would that benefit in your goals? And then we ask you to take kind of like a stab at our motto and talk a little bit about it, like cultivating community, compassionately, like being compassionate with knowledge. How do you do that? How have you done that? And how you see yourself holding up to that in the Honors College. So that's basically the gist of the personal essay, but something new that you're going to be creating. And then the writing simple. The writing simple is not something new that you're going to be creating. It is just selecting something that you have created in the past. So you're going to select what you consider to be your best simple of analytical writing. So this can be anything from any class you have created in the past. We just ask you to choose what you consider to be. So there's no limits. There's no topics that we ask you to be around. So it can be from history, it can be from biology. What those analytical papers typically look like is like using evidence to support an argument, a comparison, an analysis of something. So anything that draws evidence to support that and make that analysis. So that's what we're looking for in that writing sample. We have access to your full Western application, by the way, so we can see everything that you have submitted to Western. So there's no need for you to resubmit anything that you already submitted. We do recommend students to submit letters of recommendation. So if you haven't done that for the Western application, there will be a spot for you to submit letters of recommendation. And there's multiple ways for you to submit letters of recommendation to the Honors College application. One of those is emailing to us, having the recommender emailing to us, attaching it to your Honors College application, sending a request to the recommender. So there's a lot of different options for you to how to do that. If you have questions, feel free to email honors@wwu.edu with any details that you might have questions about regarding the application, and we'll be happy to assist you. We do have a few deadlines. So our deadlines are, we had a priority registration in December 10th. If you applied for the priority registration in December 10th, we will notify you by the regular deadline, which is February 10th, about your decision. And there's two options for you in that priority deadline application for your decision, and that will be admitted or rolled to regular decision. Your roll to regular decision means that you're going to be re-reviewed later on with that pool of applicants from the regular deadline. So if you apply by December 10th, by February 10th, you would know what of those two options was your decision on your first review. And then your regular deadline application is coming up on February 10th. Students who apply by the regular deadline will receive a notification by the end of March, beginning of April. That's our timeline to give you about a month to make decisions, because we will talk about timeline in a little bit. But the regular deadline of February 10th, so we will re-review students who were in that first pool of priority deadline that were rolled to regular decision, and then also the students that applied for regular decision. Transfer deadline, that is just a kind of like an extension that we have for transfer students, since they have different deadlines for admissions, and that deadline is March 10th. So still a lot of time to apply as a transfer student if you'd like. We also accept current honor students. So that is just a quick note that I have, just because in case students are not admitted, or in case students have friends later on that have not part of the Honors College and would like to. Current students can currently apply during winter and spring quarter, not in the fall, because we reserve those spots, those 250 spots, for incoming students like yourself. Our admissions rate varies each year, so that is a question that we often get, and that typically varies between 60 to 70%, depending on the amount of students that we have. Okay, next slide now, Kim. Sorry about that. But upcoming events and dates. So these are important things that you should know. So admitted student days, admitted students to Western is Saturdays, April 4th and 11th. There are, I think, at different colleges that are highlighted each day. This is a free in-person event for all students that have been admitted to Westerns. Students who have been admitted to the Honors College are invited to participate in a luncheon. So this is just a time for you to hang out with us and spend time with us and some current students as well, and get more acquaintance with the Honors College. There is other opportunity as well to meet with staff. We typically host an open house. We have an information session as well. So in more detail, there's other ways for you to connect with us throughout the day. And then register early, because space is limited for admitted student day, especially for the honors luncheon. So when invitations go out for that, which will be later in March in a couple of months, but just for you to know, the space is limited for the honors luncheon. So make sure to register for that. And then we also have an Honors College Discord that is currently live. So once you receive admissions to the Honors College, you get this somewhat lengthy email that talks about next steps and how to do it. And one of the things in that email is the Honors College Discord. So you are able to join the Honors College Discord with other admitted students. This does not mean that they are confirmed to attending the Honors College. It just means that they have been admitted to the Honors College. And this is a way for you to also meet other people that you might want to room with. So, room selection will be live once you're admitted to the Honors College. So you can try to meet other people to select rooms together. And then we have a little bit more of upcoming dates and deadlines. So the housing application is opening tomorrow for all admitted students. So Dong will talk more later, the housing person, during the panel about the housing application itself, in that process if you have questions about it. But it's going to open tomorrow, and students have until May 1st to apply. Confirmation deadline for Western and the Honors College is the same. So the Honors College deadline is, I just noticed there is a typo. It's fall 2026. It's not fall 2025, but it is May 1st. So you need to notify us that you have accepted or declined your offer of admissions to the Honors College by May 1st. So that is just something for you to be aware. So you have until May 1st to make your decision. Once you're given an offer of admissions to the Honors College, you can accept or decline that. It's not going to change your admissions to Western itself. So it's nothing that's going to impact your Western admissions. It's just an additional offer to a program, like the amazing one that we just talked about, and you can admit or decline that. During fall advising and registration, which happens late July through August, we this is where incoming first year students get their advising and kind of orientation academically to the on to Western, and we do have honors college specific days. For our advising and registration. So there will be sessions where you get time with Kim, with other our associate director, and other faculty and us staff members to build your schedule and kind of like a plan for your first quarter. The director of advising will be here for the panel, so she'll be able to talk more a little bit about that process if you have questions. And then later on, we have Prologue. Prologue happens normally during moving weekend, which will be September 18th and 19th. This program introduces the fall cohort to other honor students, to the Bellingham area, to faculty. We do a lot of really fun activities. We do recommend students to move in prior to this. So this will be like late Friday and all of Saturday. So we do recommend students to have moved into their dorms, especially their honors residence halls by the beginning of Friday if they would like to participate in this event. There will be more information sent out later on about all of these events and you'll receive it, but I'm just trying to give you a little bit of information of what's yet to come. Okay, now that I've covered all of this information, I'm just going to recap everything that we've mentioned, which is the small discussion-based classes with faculty membership within the Honors College. There's enriched academic experience with interdisciplinary learning. There's support for research, internship, and studying abroad. There's the option for honor-specific housing that you can opt to live in if you're living on campus. And then there's opportunities for leadership and community engagement. A few things that we didn't mention, there's no additional fees with applying or enrolling in honors college courses or housing. Of course, it's credits that you're going to be completing, but that's just the typical credit load amount for Western. So there's not additional fees because they are honors courses or anything like that. Of course, if you're studying abroad, there might be additional fees with studying abroad in general, but not because it's honors, so it's going to be more expensive. No, there is no financial barrier to accessing the honors college. And then priority registration, we have this benefit for our students, which just means that they get the first slot of registration for 3/4 of their choice, with exception of their first quarter. So students' registration at Western happens based on the amount of credits that you have completed by the time that registration happens. So we have this little benefit that students have, and they don't need to necessarily be applying to honors college credits. Only it can be for their full schedule, and we can talk a little bit more about that in detail in a little bit. But I want to give you time before we start to introduce a couple of our students. So we have two of our current Western Honors College students here to share a little bit about it. So I think I saw that Julia is here. Where is Julia?
I'm right here, Jaden.
Oh,
I don't know
perfect.
if like turning on my audio will like pop me to the top of everyone's screens.
Yeah, so Julia, feel free to introduce yourself and share a little bit about what made you choose honors in Western.
Yeah, well, my name's Julia. I'm from Northern California. This is my second year at Western, and I actually just hit junior standing in credit, so I'm kind of like a split student a little bit. I'm pursuing a BS in physics, and I also have minors in astronomy, honors, Spanish, and I'm actually maybe going to add a mathematics minor. We'll see. A couple more fun facts is that I'm on the debate team here at Western, which is really fun. And I also completed the Honors College Study Abroad program where I traveled to Greece my freshman year fall quarter with Dr. Goldman. And that's an honors college program that I can talk a little bit more about later. And one of the reasons that I chose Western was because of the honors college. Being out of state was really important for me to have the ability to find and form a community really quickly up here at school. And the honors college, every time I talked to them or heard about them or toured the school and came to speak with the actual professors and faculty in person, I really felt seen and heard and like like I fit into the program. And it was really awesome, you know, seeing that happen my first year where I immediately came in that first year honors like core classrooms. It was just immediately like I'm just able to make friends and meet people, and we're able to go and have these incredible experiences. And it was very much definitely a pull for me to come up to Western because I just fell in love with the honors college from like the second I heard about it. And yeah, and I'm again more than happy to answer any questions later on. But I'll make sure that Jaden also has a couple minutes. So, but yes,
Thank you,
really,
Julia.
Jaden.
And then we have another student here, Jaden, who's going to share a little bit about their experience within the first 2 years of the Honors College.
Hey guys, I'm Jaden. I'm originally from Bothell, Washington, so kind of Seattle-like area. I'm currently a second year along with Julia. I'm almost at junior standing, but I am currently sophomore standing credit-wise. And I'm pursuing a BA in English literature with a teaching endorsement. I currently have 3 minors, art history, the honors minor, and women's literature. I am also thinking of adding a fourth with museum studies. Kind of similar. Oh, I'm also in both or all 3 honors book club, student honors ambassadors, or student honors board, and honors student ambassadors. So I really like to get involved with the honors college. That's actually what made me choose Western, similarly to Julia. I learned about the honors college through my best friend, did more research, and very quickly decided that Western was the place for me because of the honors college, because of the learning opportunities that it provided, the several ways to gain my GURs and explore different credits with smaller class sizes, with a more tight-knit community of students, a tighter relationship with my professors, and just kind of getting to know the school and my own academic self through those classes. Beyond honors, though, I chose Western not just because of the beautiful campus, the beautiful location, but I had so many amazing opportunities to explore different paths of study through Western's classes and professors. I looked more into humanities-based classes and professors, and actually scheduled some meetings with them to talk to them about what their purpose is and how they run their classes. And I got to know them a bit more, which then also pushed me to choose Western. But really, it was the honors college that really did a lot of that work for me. And I actually applied to the honors college the day I did my honors college visit. I submitted my application that night because I just absolutely fell in love with it and the people and the campus. And yeah, I'm also excited to answer anybody's questions later in the meeting. But thank you so much for hearing from me. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Jaden. And yeah, Julie and Jaden will be in the panel and sharing a little bit about the student perspective during that. And Jaden did an amazing plug for applying. If you haven't applied, you can apply today. You can apply. The application is open until February 10th, as I mentioned. So you can apply at any moment between now and February 10th. So just talking about next on the agenda. So for students, you have received a second Zoom link for the simple class that you have pre-registered for. So faculties will be in those rooms waiting for you. So you can start heading out there in a couple minutes. So just make sure, like, take a break, grab some water, and start heading there. Other guests of the students, you can stay in the Zoom link. There will be a panel discussion with the Senior Assistant Director of Admissions, the Director of Academic Advising, Associate Director of Housing, our Honors College Associate Director, and current honors students as well. I'm just going to give a little bit of context of how that's going to work. Kim's going to moderate it, but because we have everybody's cameras on and the opportunity for you to unmute yourself, there's a lot of people on the chat. So how we do this is there is the Q&A feature. So you can still continue to use the Q&A feature. The Q&A feature, so what you're going to do is just go to it and open it. and just type your answer. You can do it anonymously. Somebody will type it back to you. If it is a question that a lot of other folks have it, students will, somebody will flag it, and then people can answer out loud. So you can answer, put questions in the Q&A. The other thing that you can do is raise your hand. So that's a feature under React that you can do. You can raise your hand, and then that means that you want to unmute yourself and ask your question during the panel. So that is the two options that we have for you. We ask that you don't use the chat unless you need troubleshooting with something. So we know there's technical issues that happened. So for example, if there's any issue with a Zoom link specifically for a classroom, feel free to put it in the chat, and we'll be happy to assist you. And if there's any other things that you need assistance with, you can also put it in the chat. But the Q&A feature is where we're going to be answering like most of the questions. So use that feature, and then we have chat moderators. Kate and Hannah will be helping with that while Kim hosts the panel. Does that all make sense? Great. So students, the faculty will be waiting for you on the Zoom links, and we'll get started shortly.
One little note in terms of visualizing campus, the background that Jay has there virtually is right out my window, and what you can see at the back is the Arboretum that Western's campus is right up next to, and is basically the backyard of the honors residence community too, which I frequently hear is one of our students' beloved features of the location, to be able to just walk out into the Arboretum any day. Anyway, thank you all so much for joining us for the first part of this morning. As Jay said, we're going to take a break now. This is a 2, 3, 4 minute, 5-minute break. Good time for students to go to their classes. Let us know in the chat, just reinforcing if there are any issues with students signing into their Zoom links for the classes. I'm going to go ahead and turn off my camera and my sound for those couple of minutes, and then we'll come back on and start with that panel discussion for families to use the Q&A feature or raise your hands. I'll moderate, and we'll start by having all of our panelists introduce themselves. So take this as a couple-minute break, and we will be back with you in this same Zoom space for families for the panel discussion shortly. Good morning again, all. For those of you that I've had a chance to introduce myself to already this morning, again, I'm Kimberly Lynn. I'm the director of the Honors College here at Western, and we're really delighted to have you join us here. What I'm going to go ahead and start off now is the panel discussion. So hopefully your students have made their way to their Zoom rooms for the sample classes. Again, if there's any support needed for that, that would be best to use our chat feature for. And then the way that we'll run the panel discussion is if you can please use the Q&A feature in your Zoom screen, or you can raise hands and I will do my best to manage between highlighting questions for the general audience and also calling on hands. Really pleased this morning to have excellent colleagues here from across campus who work and supporting some of those key areas for students, both in terms of that admissions process and also supporting students once they're here at Western, as well as one of my very talented honors colleagues, plus our two fabulous second-year students in honors, Jaden and Julia, who you already had a chance to hear a little bit from. So the way we're going to start out is that I'm going to ask all of those panelists to please introduce themselves and explain to you a little bit about what their role and their work at Western is. Then I'll have Jaden and Julia quickly reintroduce themselves, and then we'll go from there into questions, responding to questions. Again, either using that Q&A format in Zoom for the written component, or you're raising your hand in the Zoom feature for that. So with that, perhaps I could ask Megan to go ahead and start the introductions.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks, Dr. Lynn. First, thank you all for being here. This is a really important event and appreciate the invitation to be on this panel. My name is Megan Bryson. I use she and her pronouns. I'm the director of the Academic Advising and Student Achievement Center, which is Western's Central Undergraduate Advising Center. And we partner very closely with the Honors College in supporting students' academic planning and exploration. It was really fun to hear Julie and Jaden's list of majors and minors. It's always really fun as students explore the different options. And we are here to support students in that. Going to college is really an exciting time, and there's a lot of new and different tools and resources. So it's really important that we help your students know what those resources are and to be able to plan and move throughout their academic journey. I will, I'm sure, talk more about that, but that's just a gist. I know Dr. Lynn was describing Jay's background earlier. My background is the opposite side of Old Main, and where a lot of honors students live is just behind those trees. So gorgeous place to be. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. Brent, maybe we could hop over to you next.
Happy to. Hi, folks. Thanks for being here this morning. My name is Brent Bodie. I use he, him. I am our Senior Assistant Director of Admissions here in the Office of Admissions at Western Washington University. I've been here working at Western for, this is my 13th year working in the admissions office, being able to work with students who are interested in coming to Western.
Use that one. I just trying to get out of this one.
And so happy to answer any questions you might have that I might be able to take on about the university, the admissions process, any of our visitation programs, obviously outside of our Experience Western Honors today, and just happy to be here.
Thank you so much. Dong, perhaps we could go to you next.
Hi, everybody. My name is Dong Vo. I'm the Associate Director for Occupancy, Communications, and Admin Services. That's just one department under University Residences, which is housing. So the other departments under University Residences includes Residence Life, which is the programmatic community building aspect of living on campus, University Residences Facilities, so the facilities aspect and maintenance, as well as dining and housing business office. I will also say I am a Western alum. I graduated in 2010, and I'm excited to be here. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. And my role is, my department handles housing assignments. And so looking for roommates and assigning students to rooms. And I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much. Tristan, if I could hand over the introductions to you.
All right, welcome everybody. My name is Dr. Tristan Goldman. I am the Associate Director here in the Honors College. I've been at Western since about 2012, and I've been working in the Honors College since about 2013, and I've been in my current role with the college since about 2016. My main role is to work with Dr. Lin in terms of thinking about the overall direction the college is going and thinking about how we can do all the things that we currently do better, because we're always thinking about that. I also teach across that core sequence of classes that all honor students do as their foundation in the minor. I also have been leading the study abroad program that Julia mentioned that travels to Greece. I've done it shockingly to me, I've done it 7 times now. And so I'm an old hand at it, and it's a very great program. My Zoom background is not Bellingham. It's ancient Sparta. And so if you're interested in visiting ancient Sparta, which was a real place, we do that in the study abroad program in the fall quarter. All right.
Thank you. And if we could have Julia and Jaden just introduce yourselves again. I think hopefully most attendees had a chance to hear you before the end of the last session, but maybe not all.
Yeah. Again, my name is Julia. I'm a second year here at Western with junior standing. I'm a physics major and I have an astronomy, an honors, a Spanish, and maybe a mathematics minor. As Dr. Goldman mentioned, I did travel to Greece with him my freshman year. And then something I also forgot to mention is that I've lived in Edens Hall for 2 years. So I lived in it as a freshman, and I'm currently living it as a sophomore. And so that's the honors only housing option that we have on campus. And again, I'm more than happy to answer questions about that later on. So.
And I'm Jaden. I'm currently a second year with sophomore level standing. I'm an English literature major with a teaching endorsement, and I am minoring in art history, women's literature, honors, and maybe museum studies. I am a member of Honors Book Club, Honors Student Ambassadors, and Student Honors Board. And I also lived in Edens last year. I currently live off campus, but I'm also happy to talk about that experience later as well.
Thank you all so much. So that's our set of panelists. Thank you all that I'm starting to see some great questions that I bet a lot of you are wondering about come in. And I'm going to take the opportunity to just pick up first on how to connect Julia and Jaden's introductions to a question I see here right near the top. And that's to ask to our student representatives what they see as the pros for living in that honors residence community versus living in other dorms while being in honors.
Yeah, well, I can start talking a little bit. The biggest thing that I love about Edens Hall is how close it is to Old Main, which is where the honors college is. Edens in general it's in a pretty central but still private place on campus. You know, you're super close to the dining hall, the ARB, still the academic buildings, but you're not like super right like next to a busy road. You're not right next to a hugely trafficked area. And one thing about the rooms specifically is Edens Hall has the biggest rooms on campus. We have the tallest ceilings. We have some incredible storage above our closets that I always love to point out. I'm actually a housing ambassador for the university, so that means that I live in a showroom. So if you're ever able to travel to campus for a tour day and you swing by the dorms, you're able to see what actual students do when they're living in the dorms. And if you're not able to make it to campus, there's actually a video on Western Washington University's Facebook and Instagram pages of myself and my roommate, who's also a housing ambassador, and you can see what our room looks like. And so if you're able to find those links, it's just the main accounts on Facebook and Instagram for the university. You might have to scroll down a little bit, but you can see exactly how big the room is, how much space there is. There's incredible views to the Old Main Lawn, to the Bay, the ARB. It's just a very nice community in Edens Hall because it is those honors students. And so if you're really like, especially if you're out of state or if you're not really sure about how to make friends coming up to college, or if you're, not sure if your child is able to that's a really great way to start, is just by living in this honors community, by going to classes with the same people that you live in the hallways with. And that's probably a rundown list of my favorite aspects of it. But I'd love, yeah, Jaden can definitely add on.
Yeah, living in Edens last year was just amazing. I get emotional every time I see Edens now that I'm not living there. To add on everything that Julia said, completely true. The location is pretty perfect. The view from my dorm last year was just the Arboretum, which I feel so lucky to have been able to wake up to that every day. Getting to live in a building with all of the people that you're in classes with is also an amazing way to build that strong community that makes honors so amazing. Um, Getting to see my classmates pretty much every day as I'm leaving or coming back home to my dorm, and getting to be in such a tight knit space really, really drove home that community that made the Honors College so appealing for me. But otherwise, everything Julia said, living on campus was absolutely amazing. I miss it, but yeah, it was just lovely.
Thank you both for sharing those perspectives. There's a cluster of, I call them kind of follow-up housing questions that I'm hoping our panelists could jump onto. So these are questions about if the honors dorms fill quickly, and if so, if filling out the housing application earlier is important for kind of prioritizing where you'd like to be living. A question about what proportion of honors students live on campus, and whether Edens Hall is honors only. I know I could jump in on some of these, but I think maybe I'll hand it over to some of my colleagues to address those. There is also a housing question about suggestions or guidance for best ways to approach finding roommates who are going to be a good fit.
Yeah, I can speak to a lot of the housing components there. So our housing application officially opens tomorrow. You can apply for a housing application anytime starting tomorrow. And the moment that you apply, we will receive your housing application. After that, it'll take about 1 to 2 business days to process, and then we will send a housing offer out, at which point the student will just need to go in to pay a prepayment to confirm their housing. The moment that you pay the prepayment, you can automatically, within about 20 seconds, go start browsing for roommates and browsing for rooms. So you'll apply, wait for that email that says, we're going to offer you housing. And then you will pay that prepayment, and then you can immediately begin, again, browsing for roommates, and you can pick your room immediately. And so the earlier that you do that, you'll just have more time to browse for that ideal room. But we do guarantee that there will be enough space for honors students who want to live in the honors community. So that includes honors North, or I'm sorry, Edens North and Edens Hall. So there will be space for you. So if you decide to apply for housing later, a month from now or so on, there will be space in Edens for you. But of course, the earlier you apply for housing, the more time that you will have to potentially meet people, browse for roommates, and browse for your ideal room. Please note that room selection goes between the February 1st to the end of June, and so we encourage students to keep browsing. You might see students move around, people will cancel, more people will create roommate profiles, and so we have a tool called the Roommate Manager where you can create a roommate group to try to see if you can find people or have people find you. And so you can keep trying to browse and meet people and try to see if you're a good match. And you can keep switching around rooms all the way through the end of June from the moment that you pay that prepayment. And so does it fill quickly? It's hard to know. There will be room for everybody who wants to live in the honors community. But if you have your heart set on that corner room with the bay view, that might go a little bit faster. And then if you're looking to room with a specific person, you'll want to make sure you prioritize both you and your roommate applying sooner so that you make sure that both of you get in there. Please feel free to reach out to our office housing if you're looking for some assistance or you're just confused about the process. But really, you can apply anytime starting tomorrow, and then wait for that offer letter in the email where you'll pay the prepayment, and then you can start browsing for rooms and roommates all the way through the end of June. In terms of how many honors students live on campus, I might pass that to someone from the Honors College. Maybe Jay might.
Yeah. I think Hannah put some data on the chat about how many rooms there are. One thing that I do want to mention about Dong saying about the room selection, if your student has applied to honors but not been admitted to the honors college yet, they won't be able to select the honors rooms until they are admitted. So they need to be admitted to the honors college and go and accept their offer of admissions to the honors college in order to be able to select those rooms. So what we encourage students is to like select their own room, another room, to have a room selected. And then once that offer admissions come in and they are admitted, they can go and say, yes, I want to live in the honors college. They will be able to go and reselect a new room in a new space that they will, like the Edens one. So that is in case you want to start the housing application prior to admissions to the honors college. Students who do select the honors housing option within that application, they will only be able to select a room in Edens Hall in Edens North. So that's the only option that will show up for them. If they no longer desire to live within those halls, they can email housing and have that changed. So that is just one step that students need to be aware of when it comes to admissions. And that is one of the benefits of applying as early as possible, because you can get that processed quicker and reviewed and admitted. So that is just one layer to that. And I think Hannah mentioned the question about people, but we do not typically have about 90% of our incoming cohort. So about 213, 230, I cannot do math on the top of my head, students living in Edens Hall specifically and Edens North. So those three, in Higginson, I think as well. Those 230 students are in that 3-building complex. So we do have a lot of the first year incoming students and also some transfer students living in those buildings.
Thanks. Just want to highlight one other piece of the housing questions that we've started off with, and then I think we'll cycle towards some other topics, although we'll keep answering housing related things in the chat and maybe come back there later. But the one thing I wanted to pause for before we cycle away from housing for a moment was to pitch back out, if I could, to Jaden and Julia, this question of any insights you've gained personally or heard from your cohort about finding good match roommates, or that, how you find people you have good roommate chemistry with.
With my experience, I was predominantly meeting people through the Western Bios Instagram page, where people can post like images and descriptions of themselves to an Instagram page that you can see and kind of meet people through that. My roommate was my best friend, so I just kind of lucked out with that. But actually, my best friend and I were supposed to be suite mates with Julia and Julia's roommate from last year. And like some things just got switched around, but we met Julia and Julia's roommate from last year through that Instagram page and got to know each other through that. That was how I met people. And then I have some best friends now that I also met on that Instagram page. So I would really recommend, if your student has an Instagram account, or if you want to look more into that, I think there's one active. I haven't really checked in on that, but that's how I kind of got my community set up. But I don't know if Julia has anything else.
Yeah, I also found my roommate through the Instagram page, but we also, the Western Roommate Manager, we used that, was really helpful for finding suite mates, especially for this year. One of my suite mates we also found through the Roommate Manager. And one thing that I was especially looking for, kind of like a key tip, is because I was out of state, I was kind of looking for students that were from Washington, because they kind of might know the way around a little bit more. They might know some people up here and help me get connected a little bit easier. And so that's, I met my roommate, and then she was from Shoreline or something, so she was able to meet Jaden and Sienna through mutual contacts. And so that was a really great way to start my career up here at Western. In Washington was, meeting people that were from the local area. And yeah, so I definitely recommend checking out those Instagram pages. A lot of people do use them. But I don't want to diminish, like the roommate manager is incredible. It really does try to match you with compatible people. And I think there was someone mentioned in the Q&A if there was a way to be partnered with like if you're LGBTQ, to be partnered with like-minded students. And we do actually have different housing communities on campus. So honors is just one of them, but there is a pride community. There is, I believe, a Black students community, and I think for next year there's an indigenous living community. And so those are at different places on campus. I think the Pride one is moving to Buchanan Towers next fall, and I'm seeing nods, so I think I'm, and I think I don't actually know where the other ones are. But there are a ton of different living communities on campus outside of just honors. And that's also a great way to meet people and start joining that, forming that community up here at Western. So, and if Dong, you want to add on to any of that, then feel free to.
Thank you all. I think I'm going to lead us a little bit different direction, seeing several different clusters of kinds of questions. So there's one that I think is just a kind of a nice overview question that I'll go to in a second, but just flagging where I have in my mind that we're headed. After that, I'm going to take us through some admissions events related and scholarship questions, and also some study abroad questions too. But the question that I wanted to highlight next was one that came in the Q&A about to the extent that our panelists feel like students at Western Honors, kids in the honors program here, are isolated from regular students, or how much crossover interaction. And I think it's important to flag here that honors programs in colleges really vary widely in how we're organized across the country. So we've been trying to share with you our sense that we're really operate as a partnership model with the university, that it's a small community, but it's an inclusive community. It's one of many communities our students are a part of. And that it's, part of the wider Western world would be my overview sense, but I'm hoping various panelists, either from the academic advising perspective or Dr. Goldman or our students, could give a further sense of how much do honor students, how much are they kind of a world apart, and how much are they integrated with the rest of the university?
I would really love to chime in here on this because I saw that question in the chat and really wanted to talk about that a bit, because you are in these really tight-knit classes with fellow honor students, which is, like I said earlier, an amazing community to be in and to build. But also, you're not just taking honors classes in your course loads. So I feel like I've been getting to take classes all across campus and getting to know other people across campus through the classes outside of the honors college as well has also been really rewarding. Western also has tons of clubs, tons that I really recommend looking into. At the beginning of the school year, before classes start, they host a club fair in Red Square where every club is there, all in Red Square, and it's a really fun event to get to see how many people there are and how many different clubs there are. There's like a hacky sack club, there's a slacklining club, pretty much anything under the sun, and that's a really fun way to get involved with the rest of campus. But yeah, I think that you're taking honors classes in conjunction with these, with your other university requirements and major requirements. So you're getting to know people outside of the honors college as well, which is really helpful. But if anybody else has anything to add on that as well.
Yeah, sure, I can jump in. I mean, I think we're a minor. The honors college is a minor as a degree program, and so we're only taking up about, 15 and 20% of a student's credit hour allotment. And they spend, the other 85% of their time in our classrooms outside of honors. So I think the students are not isolated, like really to any significant degree. I could flip that on its head though and say I feel kind of isolated because, teaching in honors, I only really get to interact. I only tend to interact these days with honors students, and I do miss a little bit getting to be in the classroom with non-honors students, if I'm being honest, because I think it is important, as good partners with the entire university, to have a sense of how things are going, amongst the population of all the students on campus. So I kind of miss that, but I'm not going to lie and tell you that I don't also think it's a blessing that I get to work with honor students every day, because they tend, I mean, we tend to have a community where the students are very curious and very committed to getting the most out of their time as undergrads. So I think our students, because they're like that and they do spend time in honors classrooms, when they go out and spend that other, 80, 85% of their time in non-honors classrooms, I think most faculty outside of the honors college really appreciate what our students bring to that coursework outside the honors college as well.
Kind of picking up on that, I would just share an experience that one of our recent graduate students would frequently share as an ambassador. And that was that they had begun at Western as a running start first year. So they started at junior status and were only at Western for 2 years. But that they felt like their kind of home base in honors really gave them and they always talked about themselves as an introvert, and so they came in credit wise a junior, but kind of socially a first year, as is true probably of about a quarter of the students who start in honors any given fall. And they really felt like that connected community and the core sequence and honors gave them the social confidence and the home base at Western to then go out and also make really strong bonds and really strong community in their major, which ended up being environmental science and the toxicology lab they worked in. So I think that's another way that I've seen that work. Was a testimonial that always kind of landed with me well. We can always loop back to, to questions too as our panelists think of additional elements. I'd like to maybe highlight a few that I know that maybe our admissions colleagues can speak to. And there's been a cluster of questions about the difference between the different kinds of visit days, whether those this month in February on Fridays or in April, maybe the difference between the admitted student Saturdays at the start of the month and the Fridays later in the month. Plus a question that I'll loop into that about where students and families who might not be able to attend those events can make sure that they're getting the same information.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dr. Lynn. There are lots of ways to visit campus. We absolutely would love for you to come if you have not been to campus before. If you have been to campus before, but you're still in that deciding process, always coming back, we find is a really impactful way for students to really see themselves at the institution, see themselves as students when they're actually here on campus. And I like to think of our visitation programs as kind of just different levels. Think about how much time you have and how much information do you want to get out of your time on campus. There is not going to be one campus visit experience that is going to be better than another, but what you have are different options, different panels, different offices that will be open, different resources that you can go and interact with, meet with their staff, meet with their faculty along those lines. So I'll start with what might be the shortest amount of time that you might have, and that would be our campus tour. We offer an hour-and-a-half long campus tour, 6 days a week, most weeks throughout the year, twice a day. So you have a really awesome opportunity to be able to meet with students, be led by an upwards of 2 of our student admissions representatives. And if you're visiting during the week on a Monday through Friday, most of our visits also have an information session where we'll have an admissions counselor, someone from our staff, able to give you additional information. While they do cover the admissions process, they also will cover next steps if you're an admitted student as well. That only will take you about 2 hours of time when you consider the walking back and forth to your car. And that's probably our shortest visit that we can offer for you. Our visit Fridays, like Dr. Lynn was talking about, is what I would consider our medium length amount of time. You're coming to campus between 9 and 10 a.m. And wrapping up your day anywhere from 2 to 3 p.m. or so. There will be a shortened campus tour. We offer information sessions there. And like I said, if you want to meet with study abroad, if you want to take the opportunity to meet with Jay or Dr. Lynn in honors, there's going to be time to be able to have some of those interactions. Again, some of those offices will be open. Because those are during the week, they're on Fridays. Campus is a little bit more lively, just like any of our campus tours are going to be. You're going to see students coming and going to class. Almost all of our eateries would likely be open throughout the day. And you have a better sense of what that would really look like in terms of envisioning yourself and seeing yourself on campus, showing up with your backpack, walking to class, and being able to blend in, or maybe having your student keep you at arm's length so that they can actually get that feeling for themselves. Our longest visit, our biggest day that we do are our admitted student days. They are the first 2 Saturdays in April this year. I believe that's the 4th and the 11th. And that's what I would call our biggest fanfare. It does start at around 8 a.m. on that Saturday with our check-in, and then it goes upwards to 3 or 4 p.m. in the afternoon. Lunch is provided during that visit. We focus on specific colleges within the university as well. So different departments will be available depending on which visit day it's going to be, which admitted student day it's going to be. And so you have the chance to have more of that direct interaction with academic departments. And again, a lot of those similar types of resources, offices, things like the outdoor center, any of the different resources across the university will have a table of, like a college fair style resource fair where you can go and find out those different opportunities across the university, and then ask any of those last minute questions. If you have more questions for housing, they're going to be available, things along those lines. So it's just a little bit more of your day. It takes up more of your time throughout the day, but can be a really incredible opportunity to really experience what it's like to be a full student throughout the day. I will say that comes with the caveat that it is a Saturday. It is also the first 2 Saturdays of our spring term. And so you won't necessarily see students coming and going between classes. You might see students in the library. You're going to see students in the residence halls and the dining halls. But campus itself will be have a little bit less of that hustle bustle that you see throughout the work week as it is. So there's a little bit of a different experience that comes with visiting on a Saturday in that way too. But we have so much more available to you throughout the day because our staff aren't also doing their other full-time jobs like they would be doing on that Monday to Friday, kind of 8 to 5 typical schedule. So we welcome you at any time. We also have self-guided tours available. There is an online version of it, so you can come to campus, have your phone up, and you can get all of the same information that you would get from your tour guides through that virtual tour. Just without the fun personal stories like you're getting from Julie and Jaden sitting in the session today. You miss out on some of those more personal interactions in those moments. But if you are just looking for that general information about the university, you can get all of that through the virtual tour as well. There's not going to be any specific piece of information that you're going to miss by not attending one event or by attending another. There is a lot of similar information that's provided in these events. We just scale them based on the amount of time we know that folks have to be able to be on campus. So don't feel like you're missing out on something. If you can't come to an admitted student day and you can only come to a visit Friday, that's fantastic, not a problem. We always will have staff available on hand to answer any additional questions that you have, or if you feel like you're missing a piece of that puzzle that you need to be making that final decision. Pop by the admissions office. Odds are we will have a table if you're attending a formal event that we're putting on anyway, for you to come and chat with us, ask any questions. And then your student also has access to their temporary admissions portal, and that's where they can find where their admissions counselor is. There will be a fantastic portrait photo of them right when they open that page with their contact information. So if there is ever that chance that it's, let's say tomorrow morning, a Sunday morning, and you're like, oh, I thought of one more thing we need to ask your admissions counselor, you can just shoot them an email and we'll be able to get back to you the following workday.
Thank you. And I want to stay a little bit in this space just for a moment, because I know there have been scholarship questions as well. From the Honors College side, I'll share that we have some scholarship opportunities that students can apply for, but those happen when students are second or third or fourth years, we also have a scholarship that's related to a community service partnership that we've built over the last year with the Bellingham Senior Activities Center, which has been just a wonderful new program and vehicle for community engagement, but also tied to a scholarship. But we don't offer scholarships from honors specifically for entering students. And the philosophy behind this historically is that we're very intentionally trying to create an academic community that students want to be in, not one that they're sort of going through the motions of because it's tied to their funding. But the admissions office is the unit that handles those incoming student scholarships. And I think I will just quickly pass back over to Brent for that piece. And then I think we'll kind of rotate a different direction in a minute.
Perfect. So students are automatically reviewed for all of our merit scholarships just by applying to the university. So there is nothing that your students have missed out on in terms of being reviewed for any of our merit-based scholarships. Our scholarship review process happens after a student has been admitted to the university. And if your student receives any of those scholarships, we do send a letter in the mail to them as well as a follow-up email. Typically within a month of a student being admitted to the university, if they're going to receive a scholarship from our office, they'll have received that letter by that point. We did begin awarding our scholarships at the very end of last year, the very end of December. And so those go on a rolling basis. So if your student was also recently admitted and hasn't heard in terms of scholarships at this point, odds are they're just in the process of being reviewed right now. And if you do have any questions about what that award amount is, how long it is for, things along those lines, you are welcome to connect directly with me. Or like I said before, their admissions counselor profile will be on their portal as well. And we can always have that one-on-one chat of what does that scholarship process look like. The one additional scholarship that we haven't talked about is our Multicultural Achievement Program. That is based off of information that the student provides us through their essay, if they provided us an essay and their activities list primarily. We have not begun awarding that scholarship yet at this point, so there is still some review happening for that scholarship that is happening outside of the academic side of our merit-based scholarships too. So there might be additional letter that comes to your student if they did apply for our MAP scholarship specifically.
Thanks for that. What I'd like to highlight, I think, most next is a question that one of our attendees said that it'd be interesting to hear Dr. Goldman speak about the course sequence. And, maybe following that, Jaden and Julia might chime in too. This is kind of our cohort forming core curricular experience that first year. So it'd be great to have a little bit more vivid sense of what that looks like from a faculty and student perspective.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Lynn. So the core sequence of classes that all students enroll in as the sort of foundational courses for the minor has been something that I've been working on in conjunction with my colleagues in the college, and we continue to work on it all the time. So those classes are always evolving, but we're trying to ensure that all of our students have a strong basis in, I guess, what I would call interdisciplinary humanities inquiry. And it has a sort of loose chronological organization. I say loose chronologically because students often begin their study in the Honors College in any one of the 3 quarters that we offer those classes. So typically students begin their course of study in the fall, but sometimes often we will admit students to begin in the winter or the spring. And so it's perfectly possible for those students to begin their Honors College career in those quarters without having to wait to start in their next fall quarter or something along those lines. And so we're very much interested in the way that the diverse human cultures and civilizations around the world have conceived of human well-being and how they've organized themselves for better or worse to try to achieve their visions of human wellness, their dreams of human wellness, if you will. So obviously, as someone who leads students to Greece in the fall, that set of coursework is devoted to thinking about how the Hellenic people had conceived of that, which most of you no doubt know has been regarded as very influential toward the way we have organized ourselves now, in terms of ideas about democracy and liberty, and those kinds of concepts. But as we travel throughout the year in those foundational courses, we generally begin by looking at, in the fall quarter, we begin by looking at how humans around the world organize themselves in what we call pre-modernity. That is to say, the period of time before, say, the Enlightenment, if you want to think about that, if you want to think about it that way, in Europe, the European Enlightenment. Um, and the cultures and civilizations that get covered in that fall quarter course are largely dependent on the faculty member, one of our 7 core faculty members that teach the course. Dr. Lin has been, working on shepherding us towards having a little bit more overlap, maybe, in terms of some of the cultures that we think about in that regard, which, I'm in agreement there that, we're trying to make sure that our students are having somewhat similar experiences across those courses. In the winter quarter, we offer a core curriculum class that is about what we call modernity, which is largely that sort of European Enlightenment phenomenon we're talking about. And so we begin to explore that cultural experience, which in some ways students are very familiar with because we all live in a modern culture, but not all of us are as equally aware of the building blocks of that culture and where it came from and the historical evolution and cultural evolution of that period of time. And then in the spring, we work on a pretty open-ended piece of curriculum that we call post-modernity. And that course is kind of meant to help students begin thinking about what our species might begin to think about doing after what we've been doing in modernity for the last several hundred years. So again, that course can cover a lot of ground. So we can begin by thinking about cultural experiences outside of the modern that continue to exist in the world, whether we're dealing with ways of life on the African continent or the Asian continent. But we're also thinking towards the future in that course as well, and thinking about, as I said, how the students might begin conceiving of what's next for us in terms of where we're going as a species and on the planet, and as a people, as a culture, as a global culture, if you will. And as many of you probably have begun to become aware, events around the world have increasingly come to impact us much more significantly at home, in a much more fundamental way. And so we're thinking about what it means to live in a world where that's the nature of things. In the spring, for example, in the spring, I teach a course that is centered on Iranian experience. And if for those of you that have been paying attention to the news, Iranian experience is pretty topical right now, as a global set of circumstances that I think a lot of us are thinking about. But I invite students as well to chime in on their experience in the core curriculum.
Yeah, I would love to talk about it because I really, really love the core sequence very much. Last year I took the core sequence last year, and I took the same professor for Honors 103 and 104, and then I actually took Goldman for Honors 105 and got to learn about the Iranian experience through him. And it's a really amazing way to not only get credits for your GUR requirements, but it is also, that's where I found a lot of my tight-knit community in honors, is being in these really discussion-based classes where you're talking with your professors as well as your fellow students about the human experience throughout history and time immemorial. And it's really valuable to hear different perspectives. That's where I really found the interdisciplinary aspect of the college to really shine through. I had, like, for example, in my Honors 103, I had computer science majors and theater majors, math majors, fellow humanities majors on the same class talking about the human experience. So you're getting really different perspectives. like in Honors 105, I was in that class with Julia. So having a physics major and then an English major and so many other people in that classroom to provide their own background of academia and their own experiences is a really valuable way to explore humanities. And just, yeah, I feel like that's what I really loved about it, was how interdisciplinary it is. But yeah, Julia, if you want to add.
Yeah, I probably one of my favorite things about my freshman year was that honors core sequence of classes. And I like it would get to the point where I mean, I'm a huge STEM girly. I love science, I love math. But it would be such an incredible experience to, go and do my little like minute like detail work in my physics classes and then be able to go to an honors class and just kind of like almost like take a deeper breath and look at, the way that I'm moving in the world and think a little bit more about how my education is affecting me as a person and not just what I'm learning. And it really helped me kind of get my footing as a college student because I was all of a sudden in this class where I was being asked to kind of challenge my ways of thinking about, what books to read and what education is and what it can do for us as a student. And definitely one of the things that I look forward to the most in my college career and like looking ahead to my years is like when can I take my next honors class? When can I take my next seminar, my next colloquia? Because I just love I realize I love the person that I'm becoming as a result of these honors classes. And I cannot understate or overstate enough how impactful that core experience was on me. I mean, I look at the books I have on my desk right now, and at least 3 of them were ones that I read in Dr. Goldman's classes. And so that's really the main draw of the honors program, I think, is that kind of, you know, the 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 ways in which the honors core classes makes you think is not something that you're going to get in really any other program or really any other college or university, whether it's a college here on campus or another university in the world. And so I really like, again, like I love this program so much. And it's just such an incredible experience, not only the community, but just what I'm able to learn as being a part of the honors college is just incredible and unmatched.
Thank you all for giving a really great sense of the college and the feeling here of being in the Honors Center and being in the classrooms, and the investment in our community. I'm getting a nudge that I think we have a little bit of time, that maybe we go briefly to the topic about questions that are coming through about how Western generally handles AP and transfer credit. I don't know if Megan, maybe you're able to handle that, or Jay, if you'd like to chime in on how that works with honors.
Yes, absolutely. I'm happy to do that. And Jay or I can drop a Teams chat in with a link to Western's admissions website that outlines AP credit and IB credit. So students can know how that might transfer to Western and what courses it might count towards. Western does accept AP, IB credit, college and the high school, running start. It's really important that students are getting credit for what they've earned already, because so many students, as Dr. Lynn mentioned earlier, enter Western with college credit already. So we want to make sure that we're factoring that in, saving you time, saving you money. And so as a part of the incoming student process from admissions, once you're confirmed to attend, students will receive a checklist from admissions that outlines all the steps you need to take to successfully be prepared to start here. One of those is sending in transcripts. So if you've received AP credit, that's grabbing those transcripts from College Board. If you've received Running Start credit, that's getting it from the college that you received the Running Start credit from. That's a kind of sometimes the point of confusion where students think, well, I sent my high school transcripts in and it included my Running Start. You've got to send it from every location you've received that credit. Our great colleagues in admissions will articulate and process all of those transcripts. And then students will receive an email that says, your credit has been articulated. And that happens all before new students attend their advising and registration session with us in the summer. I put a chat in the Q&A earlier, but all new students will attend. First year students required, transfer students strongly encouraged, and most come. But honors students will all meet with the honors advising team during new student advising and registration. So you'll see a lot of these faces in that session in the summer, and then we'll work with you to get advising, plan classes for fall quarter, and we'll make sure we're factoring in any incoming credit that you've received to make sure you're not taking classes that are unnecessary. Anything else you'd add, Jay? Thanks for the links.
Yeah, is this one thing that a lot of people ask, how like transfer credits come to Honors College? So I'll let Dr. Lynn mention a little bit about that and how transfer credits within the Honors College works.
Sure. All right. So within the Honors College, we work with our students, as Megan just indicated, to individually to see what honors pathway works best for them, how that fits with their other studies. We tend to allow a little bit of flexibility for substitution in the space, the kind of middle space of our curriculum, our colloquia or our seminars. So this is a place where we'll accept, say, a study abroad course that a student's taking because we want to support those experiences, or maybe substitute more upper division seminars if a student has fulfilled a lot of their general education requirements. So we have a pathway both that's for entering first years who need to complete a lot of their general education still, and another pathway for students who come in like with a direct transfer agreement, or frequently close to that too, if they might not have a direct transfer agreement, but basically have the general education requirements done, then we might work with that student to think, well, taking seminars makes more sense than taking colloquia. So that's kind of the main substitution space that we work in. For earning the honors minor, we are really committed to having students take our course sequence. So although they might have taken the same gen ed categories that covers, we know it's going to be a unique experience, and it's also just really foundational for that interdisciplinary learning and community building. And so we don't make substitutions out there, and we're also really committed to the capstone. So, I mean, that wouldn't be with credit coming in, but that's another piece that I just think is really a key part of what we're doing overall in the honors experience. I am going to really quickly answer some questions too that I flagged, but just to say that I've gotten some questions about, maybe they've been answered in writing, but I've seen several about process for the GREASE program. And that is that we typically open the GREASE application in May, possibly as early as April, but we're, making sure that it's open when everyone's had a chance to decide if they're coming to Western, if they're confirming honors, to hear their admissions decisions. We advertise it widely. So if you end up in that community of those who are coming to Western starting in honors, you will receive many, many emails from us alerting you to the GREASE program. And then it's filled first come, first serve. So, we don't want to, so we publicize it really widely, and it's popular, but they're also, there's no need for panic either. So students who are really interested in it, who are ready to make that decision, maybe in June, more or less, it works out. So that's just a little bit there. We're always happy to follow up with that. There have also been other questions about other study abroad. As I mentioned, Western has a fabulous global engagement office. And so there are other short-term Western faculty-led programs, but Western also has partnerships with those, sort of various consortia. We work always to kind of reevaluate if the quality is staying the same in various study abroad consortia that we send students to. So our team in Ed Abroad is really attuned to continually reviewing student experience. They support and have wonderful staff there and great peer advisors who support students in the process of seeing how study abroad credits integrate with other programs at Western. And our current Ed Abroad director also has done a fabulous job of building up our exchange partnerships as a really cost-effective option so that students pay Western tuition and switch places with a student elsewhere in the world for that same tuition cost that they're paying at Western. So that's been a really important kind of access and affordability initiative for study abroad that our current executive director of that office has spent years of work engaged in. So just a quick note there, and I will super fast say something about Fairhaven and honors because there were questions along those lines too. So there are questions about retention. Over the last few years, we're seeing a retention in the Honors College of new students around 90%. So that is to say, most students who come and start in honors decide they want to continue in honors. Sometimes students decide it's not a great fit or it's too hard to balance with other things they want to do. That is not, by far the minority of our honors experience. There's a question in terms of transferring out. There's no need to transfer out of the Honors College because we're a minor and we work in partnership with everything else on campus. So students can major in anything. Students can even also be a Fairhaven College minor or major at Western, can be in both Fairhaven and honors at the same time. And we have around 20 students who currently, at least at the end of last year, had around 20 students who are currently both in honors and Fairhaven. Fairhaven is different, I think, in the sense that, honors students, they're doing a minor in honors, but they're doing everything else there is at Western. In Fairhaven, the students, are building their major, generally speaking, within Fairhaven. Now they take classes in the rest of campus, but it's a little bit, I think, more of that intimate community from start to finish. It's about half the size of honors currently. So I think around 400 students in Fairhaven versus the around 900 in honors. So it said there's some overlap. And Fairhaven also, we both stress, small courses, discussion, interdisciplinarity. Fairhaven has some of that experimental college aspect of not letter grades, of students designing their own interdisciplinary concentrations. So it's a great option for students that want to go that direction, but with the resources of a wider university, which is an audience of some honors students. But the kind of overall approach and student experience, I think, is pretty different over the course of 2 or 3 or 4 years. So I know I'm at time. I'd like to thank you all for joining. I hope we were able to answer as a vast majority of your questions, or at least hit some of those primary interest areas. We thank you so much for making time to visit virtually with us this morning. And please don't hesitate to reach out and connect with us, and we will be very happy to continue these conversations and continue connecting you with resources after today as well. With that,
part as well, just to add, there will be a recording being sent out to everybody that was registered to the event. So if your students would like to come and watch this part of the meeting as well, they will be able to. It will be sent out at some point this week. Don't expect it tomorrow or Monday. It will probably be like later in the week, but you will receive it. And as Dr. Lynn mentioned, we hope we answer most of your questions. We know that this probably opened a Pandora box of questions for you. And that's why we also have the panel, so we can introduce you to other people around campus that are able to help you. So if there's more advising questions as they come on, feel free to reach out to Megan, or housing. Dong is available. Admissions Brent's available. We probably answered just like 2/3 of your question today. So more questions are coming up. So we are here for you and to assist you through this process, and we're very thankful to have you here with us today. So that was just my quick note.
Thank you again, all. We wish you a good rest of your weekend, and we hope to see you in the future too. And with thanks to my colleagues and students.